together. How would you say your experience helped you come back into yourself in more of a cohesive sense?
Yeah, I think what for me was like the most profound thing about the cleanse, because I come from a background with an eating disorder and like had like 2.5 decades of like going through the dieting world and have done cleanses and detox, but very much from a place of actually fear and from trying to fix and solve something. And so when I was drawn to this, it was like something that my whole body was like, I have to do this. Is like, fine. And what was so amazing to me was this feeling that like the enzymes were literally clearing out like old trauma in the most gentle, easeful, like soft but powerful way. And I was really, it was like I was being pulled in to feel things that I hadn't felt in decades that needed to be felt in a way that it was like I've never experienced something that was so gentle but powerful. Like it really changed my whole perspective on healing as something that's gentle, that can be let go. And the emotional part can be intense at times, but there's an undercurrent of easefulness to it. And what I noticed, like all my friends commented on me, they're like, you're different, like you're more vibrant, like there's something has changed about you. And it's like, here's ZenCleanz. Like that's why I signed up with the affiliate program because I was like, I had so many of my friends that were like, this is the first time, and they're like people that have known me for 5, 6, 7, 8 years that have seen me go through like trying every single modality and thing out there. They're like, something has shifted in you that like, and I noticed it for me, it was a feeling like something shifted and I can't go back to how I was anymore. Because a lot of times having done retreats or different experiences, there's this amazing expansion and you kind of go back and you have like this amazing awareness and insights, but still this feeling of like repeating the patterns. And somehow with this cleanse, it was like I fundamentally cannot go back to the place I was at before the cleanse. Like on a vibrational level, something shifted in me because the patterns, the toxicity in my body, it no longer exists. So I literally cannot like go back to that place anymore.
Than anything I've done before.
Yeah, so this was like I had a few really beautiful moments and I consistently noticed I'd have like one day that was really emotional. Like I had like one day I was like, this is like the saddest I've felt in my entire life. But like I said, in a way that I really felt like I never felt overwhelmed by what I was feeling. Like I always felt like I could be like stay with it. And I also like, yeah, I had this moment. I was going for a walk and I was noticing it was almost like a psychedelic experience where I really felt myself like sinking into the layers of my unconscious. And I had this click where I realized, like, holy crap, it takes so much energy to hold on to hatred. Like, my mother was coming up, like, I felt the visceral, like how much it takes to hold on to hatred. And then this, like, and it was gone. And like the crazy thing is after that, like without going into my personal history too much, I haven't talked to or had a relationship with my mother in 16 years. And any type of like little interaction, email or anything would create like a huge like reaction in my body. And after that cleanse, like a month later, we had a call, like the first time we connected in 16 years, and I could just say centered, I could stay grounded. It was like there was no the react like the emotional reactivity in my system to her was gone. It was surreal.
Fasting. Have you done any other cleansing? Like how is this different
Yeah.
than other cleanses?
Oh my gosh, I did way back in the day the whole, what was it, like lemon juice, maple syrup, and cayenne pepper. That thing that looking back, I'm like, what was I doing? I did like I don't know if it was like a celery soup, some type of celery soup cleanse. I've done like 7 day juice cleanses. Like, yeah, I've tried a lot of different things. And what I noticed is that all of them required me to somehow like force myself to do something. Like all of them required me to like contract and push something out. And so I'd have a result that lasts like what, a couple weeks, maybe a month, and then it's like there's a snapback. Yeah, and what I
Mm.
loved about like this cleanse as well, like somehow the enzymes, it was like really this feeling of like the addict. I believe like all of us have some form of the addict archetype, and it can be like as simple as addicted to thinking, or it can be like to the extremes of actual like drug addictions or whatever. But there's the archetype is very like prevalent in our society, and for me it often shows up as like wanting to escape what I'm feeling and seeking comfort in food or in whatever ways. And I noticed like the enzymes, it was almost like nourishing the addict by giving it a high quality substance so that it naturally would let go of the shitty patterns. Like it was like giving it an alternative because like this is what Gabor Mate, I don't know if you know his work, but he talks about like the opposite. He's like an amazing doctor in the world of trauma healing that works a lot with heroin addicts. And he says the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. Like you're actually connecting, you're giving it a higher quality substance or a human connection or a safe space, whatever it is. So in this case, I really felt like the quality of the enzymes, it allows the part, like the addictive part is holding on for safety, and it's given something else so that it actually feels safe enough to let go. Like, yeah.
Exactly. So what cleanse did you do? Did you do the rainbow cleanse or the intestinal cleanse?
Yeah, so I did. So I found out about ZenCleanz through Alex Cousins' 21-day program. So I did it. That included the rainbow cleanse, and then I purchased an extra liver and an extra colon. So I did a total of 3 liver cleanses, 2 colon cleanses, and then with that there were the enzymes. And then I like fell in love with it and was like, I want to do more. I'm currently saving up for another like 3-week experience because it felt really nice to have that like space to drop into it. But I also, I think a month later, I then purchased the Rainbow Cleanse again and also got the mycelia enzyme. And yeah, both times like amazing. The 3-week experience was like, of course, a little bit deeper in the sense that it was like I dropped into the experience more. But even with the Rainbow Cleanse, it was still like just the 1 week was really good. And I had an amazing experience, like no headache, no pain. Like it was very much an emotional trauma healing process for me where I like so many memories, like the dreams were insane. I really felt myself getting like pulled into feeling the stuff that was in my body. So I didn't have so much of like a physical reaction as it was an emotional reaction, but I was like blown away. And I'm a yin yoga teacher or a yoga teacher in general, but I specialize in yin. I've been in the world of health and wellness for like 8.5 years now. I've trauma informed. I'm looking at studying psychotherapy. Like this is kind of like quote unquote my world. And I was like, this is therapy. Like I've done plant medicines. I've like you name it, chances I've tried it. And this is literally the thing that's like the most gentle, effective, like consistently effective method that I found for healing actually. Is like you want to heal your trauma, do these cleanses. And it was so amazing because it was like a full circle for me, having come from eating disordered and all these rules around food being right or wrong, and then going into like, okay, stop cleansing, stop trying to fix things, just like listening to my body, and then going back into something that like me maybe 2 3 years ago would have been like no, that will trigger certain patterns. It was like there's something kind of like poetically brilliant about doing something like the medicine of returning to something that would have triggered me in the past and actually feeling how like basically what I did, the little moments, like I only had a few moments where I like really felt like I wanted to comfort eat. And I just allowed myself, I was like, I trust like the quality of this product is like amazing. Like I'm not gonna sit here and fight myself. And I remember having this like piece of dark chocolate. And as soon as I had it, like normally in the past I would have like, I don't know, 4 pieces. As soon as I had one, I instantly felt in my head, like my head felt overstimulated. I didn't feel good. I was like, I realized it was so like it was like hilariously annoying where I realized the projection of my like the brain's pattern of anticipating the dopamine hit and how it actually tasted to my body were two different things. Like the idea of it tasted way better than it actually did. So
People
yeah.
experience. How would you say you sat with that feeling of just overall emptiness, but also like fullness because you feel nourished from the enzymes?
Yeah, for me, it was like I have a background in meditation, yogic practices. So I was really like, I was dance as well. Like, dance is my therapy. Like, I'm a big fan of like giving an expression to what I experience. So if there was like an emotional part where I was like, needed to like move energy, I really believe in like the power of expressing what I'm with in subtle ways. It doesn't need to be like a big explosive burst of anger. It can be like dancing in a weird way. It can be drawing or writing. So for me, that was part of it. And just going for lots of walks in nature, like every day, like 2 to 3 hours, like the frequency of nature, which is the same frequency as the enzymes to me, like that's inherently healing. Like it's like a presence of pure consciousness. It's like nature to me is the greatest space holder. So that was like actually those things were really helpful. And knowing I had a friend nearby that's also a coach and trauma therapist, like I would really say like to people like, yeah, have a friend nearby, like someone that you trust or having a coach that you could just share with it. But what I found is the more that I like dropped into it, the greater peace I would experience. So I consistently found that even if one day was like really uncomfortable and challenging, and I was like, holy shit, am I going to be like feeling this sad forever? The next day I'd experience a release and I would feel so much lighter. And even if I maybe still felt a bit of sadness, there was a greater sense of spaciousness and lightness in my system. I really trust that. Like that was, and I love what you said before about leaning into it. And it's very natural to have the reaction. Like we live in a society that conditions us, if there's pain, contract and pull away and then find a means to like numb this. But this is the part that's like, I want attention. Like I need your care. I need your presence. I need like whatever it is. And by softening into that, that's what actually dissolves it. And I also feel like it's like, this is actually like the ego is terrified of letting go of the known because that's its comfort. It's like as long as I run the same grooves, like I had a mentor that said like most people live in a comfortable nightmare. Like they're quite miserable, but it's comfortable. So they'll sacrifice their integrity because it's known. And this is how like our systems, our biology is wired. And understanding like if you're doing this cleanse, this isn't just like nice cleanse and I'm going to go back to life. It's like this is what you said before, like this is unwinding my DNA. My fundamental operating system is going to shift. So like make sure you're choosing that, because if you don't actually, like, the change is going to occur naturally with the products. Like that's the caliber of quality they offer. Change is going to happen anyways, and if you want to keep fighting that, you're going to make yourself miserable, and that's your choice. Like we all have the choice to suffer unnecessarily, and sometimes it's just part of the process. But I really feel like, yeah, that's what I would like want to like invite people into, is like, do you actually, are you willing to let go and go through the ego death process that is required to heal? Because it is an ego death, and you're going to get to know parts of yourself. Like you mentioned it before, something about like getting to know other parts of yourself. Like when you've cleansed out the congestion, the trauma that's wrapped around, you reclaim a piece of your life force, a piece of yourself that you forgot, that you left behind, that got trapped in pain, is now like accessible, and you can relate to it and you can bring it in. And in that, yeah, you're going to experience yourself as a different person. And isn't that why you want to do this? Like that's so, and that's where I think a lot of people, they want to change without actually having to change. It's like, hey, if you really want to change, beautiful, these are incredible products that will support that. And just remember, you asked for this. Like this is what you're asking and inviting in. So honor that in yourself, like honor that your soul and your being is saying a yes, and know that it's so natural for the ego. Like it's so natural that a part of you is going to fight it. That's welcome to the human experience. We all have this part of us that's like, no, I just want to hang on to my safety zone. Like every time I've gone through so many ego deaths, and every single time, like I recognize that voice, the resistance. I'm like, oh, here we go again. But yeah, I think for me, just yeah, and laughing at it too. Like, okay, this is just the resistance. Like, all right, this is like comical the way it shows up at times. So
So, what do you do to create a better self and a better world?
yeah, for me, it's I recently had like a lot of insight around this, because I was very much like fixated on healing for, yeah, 8.5 years or so. And I realized, first of all, I was coming from the perspective that there's something wrong in me that needs to be fixed, instead of I am already whole and how can we make it even better? How can we make this, like, how can I live an even better life because I'm aware of parts of myself that aren't sitting quite right? It's like the puzzle piece doesn't fit anymore and this piece needs to go. And I had a realization that was actually in connection with sharing a piece of poetry that I wrote that was very much an expression of my journey, of my pain, and then coming out of it again. And when I shared that, and I noticed the impact that had, sharing something that was like both my pain but my soul's way of expressing it, something clicked. It set something in me free, and it made me realize that when I share something that is, it like both, it's an expression of the soul, but it allows the ego's stories to be there as well. It liberates the story. And so for me, a part of it's like art, expression, poetry. And through my teaching of yoga, I noticed that when I teach from the, like, it's really a frequency, it's a feeling, it's a softness. I teach in a way that's much gentler than that. I'm not like that. I enjoy some of the more intense classes, but I don't teach that way. I'm really about teaching people in a way that allows them to unwind, even when they're doing a little bit of activation. And what I share in my classes is what I've experienced. It's the wisdom I gained from doing the cleanse. It's the insights I had from my own trauma healing experiences. Like everything I share is from something I've deeply felt and experienced and believe to be true in my reality right now. And I noticed like the impact that has on people is so heartwarming. And this was really a click because I thought like first I needed to heal completely and be perfectly healed, then I can be of service. I need to be the most perfect, shiny, beautiful, bright version of myself, then I can help people. But I actually realized that a key part of healing and setting like stories in my system free is already offering what I've learned and what I have now in whatever container. Like for me, it's artistry, poetry, or teaching yoga, but there's so many other avenues. It can be any like anything that allows me like or anyone to feel like they're impacting someone else, and not from an ego like I need to help people, but from this like deep humbling of like resting into my heart, and it's like this is who I am and this is all I have to offer in this moment, and let me give all of that. And that, yeah, it's like been changing my life the past, yeah, past few weeks here actually.